What's up, players? Today we're diving in deep with how to master Stevie Wonder's Isn't She Lovely. Now I already broke down the rhythm part in this video, where I discussed the theory of the chords and how to play it in the style of Tom Misch, but now we're going to look at how to play lead over it. By the end of this video you'll have learned the melody, how to hit the changes, and a number of licks. So the most important thing you could do when you're learning a song and you want to know how to solo over it is learn the melody. It's going to inform your decisions and help you bring out more of a melodic idea. So let's take a look at this melody, and we're going to put it right here in this E major scale, right around the 9th position. Alright? So what we're going to do is we're going to specifically look at some cool guitar inflections you could do to make it more lyrical. Okay? So we're going to start by sliding into the 9th fret, and sliding in again, sliding into the 11th just like that, in and out. And that's going to be the main motif that we're going to keep coming back to. Do it again. And then right after that repeat, I'm going to go to the D string and slide up and down. Just like that. And this time, give it a little bit of variation, going up. Going up to that 12th fret on the B. And here we're going to add in a little lick just to bring out that F sharp chord. So I slide up to the 11th fret, and then pull off, and there we go. So let's see what we got for this this A section. Repeat. That note. Repeat again, this time we're going to go up. Now for our B section. All on the B string right there, just going up. I could slide up 10 to 12, and then I go. Same deal, but end on this note on the 10th fret. Go back to our main motif. Very last lick, 9 to 11, skipping right over to a root note right there. And of course we want to know that lick right there that always takes it to the end. So we start right here. So I'm just going up the E major pentatonic scale, starting right here on the 9th fret of the D string. Sliding up 11 to 13. And hitting that high E string twice. And you probably don't want to play it that high all the time, so if you want to find it in a lower octave, we could start right here on the low E string. Okay, let's try the whole melody out with the rhythm guitar right now. When I think of soloing over a song, I always want to start simple and then zoom in. So when we see the chord progression, I can determine the key is E major. And that's simple enough. Play E major scales over the song and you won't sound completely wrong. But for some people, that's not good enough. Some people want to sound articulate, eloquent, illuminating. So we zoom in our improvisational focus. Instead of playing this one thing over the whole chord progression, we decide what to play over each chord. And this song is perfect if you're new to this because each chord is exactly one measure long. So it's very easy to practice phrases for each chord. Let's break this down in more detail. In general, we could break every chord down into arpeggios or chord tones. Basically the notes that make up the chord and perfectly outline the harmony of the chord. So the arpeggios for these first two chords look like this. Now it takes time to memorize and apply these shapes, so let's simplify this and only take the first shape, which if you could tell is practically the full E major pentatonic scale, and focus in on this one note for the F♯7 chord, right here. And in this pattern, if I land on this one note over that chord, I'm hitting that change really strongly. So let's see how this sounds. You see I slid into that one note, and that one note just takes you out of that pentatonic pattern and just gives it that little bit of spice, which really accentuates how special that chord is in this progression. So step 1, practice targeting that one note over that F♯7 chord. And this chord comes up 3 different times throughout this progression. Twice in our repeated section, the F♯7 for the second chord, and then also coming in on the B section right after the C# again. So those are 3 different times throughout this whole progression that you can practice hitting that one note and just experimenting your own phrasing to hit that and make it sound cool. And you could expand to other notes in the arpeggio, but if you're not used to hitting changes, don't overload yourself with a bunch of notes. Start with one and start with the sweetest note. Now the next chord is A over B, and we could bring this note out by targeting this A right here. And notice we're keeping it real simple, finding one note in this area and it brings out the changes. So I could build this solo all in this one pattern, and then I know which notes to hit to bring out the changes when that chord comes. So I can play something like this. Now before the repeat, you usually hear a G♯7 chord that pulls you back into the C# minor chord. And we could think of this as temporarily in the key of C# harmonic minor, since G♯7 is the 5 in that key. So here's a lick I could play with that C# harmonic minor scale that pulls us back into C# minor. Okay, I'm going to put this all together and use the same ideas for the repeat, and let's see what happens. So if you notice the second time around, I hit pretty much those same key notes, but for that F#, I took it down an octave. So instead of finding the A# right there, I found it right there. And that's just another place I could find in this same exact pattern and position to hit that sweet note. And not always be hitting the same one, you know, so I can get a little bit of variation and practice expanding my repertoire of those good notes. Now as we hit the B section, let's focus on arpeggios again, but start with a specific lick instead of memorizing the full pattern, alright? So over the A major 7 chord, I could play this. Over our G♯7 chord, we could play this diminished arpeggio. And we've already kind of thought of the ideas for the C# minor and the F♯7 chord, but now we get to this big A over B chord, and maybe I want to play something different. So I could actually play a full A major 7 triad that works over this. And I could break it up like this just to make a really cool lick out of it. It's not quite exactly the major 7 arpeggio, but it outlines that idea and just enhances it a little bit more with some extra tones. Let's try these ideas out with the B section right now. So when we're analyzing this chord progression and we want to hit the changes, start here. Over that F♯7 chord, focus on these notes. See them around this pentatonic scale. And over that A over B chord, focus on this note right here. And you could think like major 7, A major 7, or you could think like A major pentatonic, and that's just going to bring out that vibe. And just get used to hitting those notes when these chords come up. And after you could do that, try the harmonic minor lick over that G♯7, and of course you can play anything in C# harmonic minor, but it's good to start with a specific lick like this. And the next level is memorizing all the arpeggio shapes and using them on each chord. Start with these specific licks to make it easier and more practical before you try improvising completely with these other ideas. Okay, so let me throw you a couple of extra licks your way, and if you want an interactive tab for this lesson, check us out on Patreon. So obviously the coolest part is our G♯7 chord. We could do so much outside stuff to bring us back into the C# minor, but let's look at some other ideas and start with this lick right here. And it's basically starts on 1 and is triplets all the way up. It's a diminished kind of lick. And the important thing is to always start this lick on the downbeat, and it's going to bring you right into a resolve on the C# minor chord. So let's take a look at these notes. And it's like, you know, you got to play it in the triplets, you got to play it exactly like that, and it's going to hit every time. So to get used to hearing that G♯7 come up and get on the 1, so it'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So another thing about this is we could start these licks in other places, right? So we could start this before the second beat and be like this. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. As opposed to 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. So with that in mind, we could think about licks that start after the 1 too, but we gotta know when to start them. So here's another one. And that's gonna come in at the same place right before the 2. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. So with each of these licks, you got to remember how to bring it in. Obviously, the one that comes in on the downbeat of 1, that's the easiest. You just got to think ahead and be like, okay, that G♯'s coming up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. Or I could think a little bit harder. When's that 2 coming up? 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. So that's a little bit of the trick, but that's the tastiness of bringing out these licks. Let's bring in one more lick for this G#. So I could do this on the 4th beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just simple like that, kind of outlining this this augmented G chord. And we hit it on the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 1. That note on 1, and that's just a quick little thing that could bring us into it, maybe before the solo starts, just to lead us in real strong. 2, 3. I'll have the full tab for everything that I play at my Patreon. Thank you for the support. Keep jamming and stay nasty.